I just saw the new Nosferatu movie, and this review contains spoilers. You've been warned. Let's jump in. This is Robert Eggers' fourth movie. If you've watched any of his previous movies, you already know what to expect. First time viewers, here's the thing. This movie is slow and boring like a leech, crawling from point A to B, inching along, and then it suddenly hurries towards the end like a mat being taken to said leech. Movie is basically a mashup of movies like Exorcist, Possession, the Francis Ford Coppola, Dracula. If you've seen these movies or any other vampire movies, there's nothing really new to see. Okay, plot. Ellen has a wet dream about Orlok, and they have a one-night stand. That's the basis for the whole movie. It's pretty weak. And fast forward, she's about to be married and really loves her fiancé. He goes on a business trip and she warns him not to go. He goes anyway, and bad stuff starts happening. The same Dracula story everybody knows and loves, except if you've been living under a rock for the past give or take 100 years. Visuals. Eggers is good at atmosphere, but when the characters start speaking, the awkward, archaic dialogue kicks in and starts getting in the way. It's just funky and gimmicky at this point and makes the movie hard to follow. Characters: Count Orlok, Ellen Hutter, and Thomas Hutter. Bill Skarsgård is Count Orlok. Doesn't do anything for me as a monster. There's nothing interesting going on. The vampire in the original movie looked really different and moved in a way that was very unsettling. Let's take a look at the original vampire. Okay, here it is. Here's the original vampire. And next, let's take a look at the new version. And I'm not sure if this was the original plan or the prototype, but Bill Skarsgård does not look like this in the final version of the movie. This is what he looks like, obscured in mist and shadow. When Orlok is finally revealed, we get what is basically a cross between Pumpkinhead and a giant human turkey. If you've ever seen the Skixes in the movie The Dark Crystal, you get the idea. He's not scary at all. It actually looks pretty cringe and goofy to look at. And also they put a mustache on him, so really weird look. Don't know what that's about. I read somewhere stating that Eggers is trying to make him look like an undead nobleman. That's why we have that stash. But for me, weird choice anyway. It's just distracting, goofy, or dirty looking. By the way, bonus for the ladies, if you've ever wondered what Orlok's junk looks like, it's here on display when Cutter disturbs Orlok's sleep. Not very impressive. So Skarsgård supposedly took the prosthetic wee home as a souvenir. Lily Depp. Lily Depp can't act. She's totally flat, reading lines off the script, except when she's performing epileptic gymnastics with all the thrashing around as she spasms in bed, contorts her face, and challenges the limits of the human tongue. Take a look at that. Here it is. The limits of the human tongue when she's being possessed, throwing up, or fantasizing about Dracula. Didn't really care for that. It's not handled well in this movie like its more famous inspirations. Might have turned out better in the hands of a more experienced director, but not here. Let's go to Nicholas Hoult as Thomas Cutter. He plays quintessential everyman. His only purpose is to be the victim, progress the plot. Didn't care for him either, nothing special about his performance. He's also good. Movie overall is a dull and dreary affair. There's a scene in the first act where some gypsies track down a vampire using a naked woman on a horse, and one of the gypsies kills the vampire they dig up. That would have been a more interesting movie right there. The kills in this movie just aren't good, no build-up or suspense. Orlok doesn't even bother to hide that he is a monster. Just stands around in his big, bare rug of a coat, bullies people with his loud voice, straight up bites his victims. There are also scenes where he's casting the shadow of his clawed hand as it creeps towards a victim like in the original. And we get repetitive close-ups of the victims' faces trembling as they are frozen with fear. Eggers just repeats and spams this over and over. It doesn't seem interested. Just seems like a wasted opportunity to me. Act 2. They spend too much fiddling around arguing. Willem Dafoe shows up to investigate after being invited by the doctor. Dafoe, interestingly enough, played Orlok in another movie called Shadow of the Vampire. It's here on YouTube just in case you're curious, and that's actually more interesting movie, so it might be worth your while to take a look. Movie turns into Exorcist and Possession at this point, but they stretch it out too long. We also have Renfield, the Renfield character, raves, vomits, and eats small animals. The heroes conclude that evil is coming and is the source of the plague based on his ramblings. The plan to beat the monster ends up being redundant because that's what Orlok wants to do anyway. Orlok gets lured, quotes, into doing what he wants, and that's how he meets his end. Best parts of the movie. are where there's no dialogue. People are whispering and moving through the scenes, which plays to Egger's strengths, being atmosphere. No interruptions from the swelling music or overall dialogue when they're talking. Will I watch this movie again? I won't be watching this movie anytime soon. One viewing is enough. That's all I have to say about Nosferatu 2024. Comment below, let us know what you think. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. And I am out.